Welcome to another episode of Side Quest Podcast, the unofficial podcast of Fitocracy. If you're not following me on Twitter, check me out at SideQuestFM. You can use that same handle over on Instagram, SideQuestFM. Follow me over there. Head over to Facebook, search Side Quest Podcast. You can find us there. You can check out my fitness page as well, which is Side Quest Fitness, and follow all the fun things that I do there, like Taco Tuesdays, Workout Wednesdays, and, all the shenanigans that I put up throughout the week. You can also head over to iTunes if you just want to listen to the podcast. Hit subscribe and leave a review. That helps us move up the charts, and that's what I like to see. I check every couple of weeks to see where we're going and how we're moving. But the more you do that, the more people actually see the awesome guests that I have had on the show and can hear some of the inspiring stories from some of the trainers that I've had. But today I'm taking a little break from that. I don't have a fitness bro or a fitness enthusiast. I actually have the CEO of an app that I like a lot. And I don't usually like a lot of apps other than like the social media stuff. And of course, Fitocracy and MyFitnessPal. But this app actually does things that MyFitnessPal can't do. And it's awesome. I met him at the Fitness Summit in Kansas City. It is an app called Fudist. Now, what Fudist does, just a brief overview here, and I'll let him talk about it a little more, is you put in your macros or your calories for the day or whatever you're looking for. But when you're on the road, the hardest thing to do is to be like, oh, God, I got to go to McDonald's and eat this double cheeseburger. There's nothing else. You're like, screw it. What Fudist does is it looks through all of the local big chain restaurants and gives you recommendations based on your macros. So now I can totally eat at Taco Bell again, except I won't spend $17. Ask me sometime about that. Funny story, college, $17 at a Taco Bell. Told Jason about that. And that's the guest I have, the CEO. Jason, I will not mess up your last name, so I'll let you pronounce it. But he is the CEO and founder of Fudist. Jason, welcome to the show.
Hey, thanks, Robbie. Really appreciate you having me on.
Dude, I love the app. I've messed around with it. I have looked at some of the recommendations that it gave me, and it's really, really cool. I really like it.
I love hearing that. Thank you very much. So I guess first let me say, while I'm definitely not like a Jordan Syatt or Coach Steve-O here, I'd like to think of myself as a fitness enthusiast, just not a fitness expert. So I'm an enthusiast. I try to keep in shape. Definitely not on the caliber of your other guests, however. But yeah. Look, like you said, we provide recommendations. We're a mobile app that provides recommendations for what you can eat while you're out. Right now, you mentioned kind of big chain restaurants, or actually even small chain restaurants, right? So if it's a 3 or 4 location restaurant, a lot of times we'll have it. We have actually about like 800 location or restaurant chains in the U.S. So we've got a lot of them. We're actually working on trying to get support for helping you out, even when you're going to go to those little mom and pop joints. So we've got some clever ideas for that. Obviously, those places, your local dive diner is not publishing nutrition information, but we've got some ideas for getting around that, and maybe we can touch back on that later. I don't want to monologue this whole time, but we can definitely touch back on some of that. Yeah.
Let me get to my first question.
Yeah.
It's an amazing app. It's an amazing idea, really, because if you use MyFitnessPal like I do, and I use it every day, because just like money, it's my food budget, and I don't necessarily like going over it. I have goals that I'm trying to stick to, so I track everything in there. And what is tracked is managed. If you're not tracking stuff, you have no idea what you're doing, and then you sometimes go, holy crap, I didn't realize, that's what I was spending, that's what I was eating.
Yeah, for sure, man.
And eating out it really is hard. And my good friend Mike Vacanti On the Regimen has been doing this show called Equals and Alternatives. And you guys can check out the show in the show notes. I have this linked up.
I've seen a couple of his videos. Yeah, those are actually
right. And the crazy thing about that is that, like, you think this salad that you're getting, a salad, okay, it has lettuce, it has a little bit of cheese, and it's got some almonds. That's totally healthy, right? Look at the calories, and it blows you away that, like, you're being sold this idea that this salad is healthy. And that you could have really just eaten like 5 double cheeseburgers.
That's right. Yeah. And a lot of times they'll hook you on words that are completely uncontrolled or unregulated. So they'll say something like healthy or heart healthy or lean, things like that. So they'll hook you on those words. Those are completely unregulated words, but they are visceral. They give you an emotional reaction. And so you grasp onto those. If you're not actually familiar with the industry, with diet, with nutrition, then you grasp onto the emotional reaction that you have. Most of us trust our emotional reactions, whether we should or not. So when companies, marketers learn to manipulate those, then they've got us.
Okay. So my question was, where did the idea of Fudist come up? Were you a MyFitnessPal guy and just like, there's got to be an easier way than going to McDonald's and scrolling through everything they have here to find the perfect, like, why create this app?
Yeah, for sure. So definitely I used MyFitnessPal for a couple of years, kind of on and off, in and out. And I definitely approached it, not really full flexible dieting most of the time. But you kind of get in either you want to lose weight or you want to do something specific you may control very precisely. While you're doing that, you also get kind of educated. You start to learn what is healthy, how to approximate macros and things like that. So you may not necessarily need to be actively tracking every day if you're not really driving towards a serious specific goal, but that only works for a lot of, things where the ingredients, things where what you're doing, and where what's there. And when you go to these chain restaurants, especially if it happens to be fast food, a lot of times it's complete guess. You can't really estimate the macros unless you get the sirloin steak and dry potato. Sure, then you can estimate the macros probably. But if you don't do that, if you want to get something more interesting, if you want to be varying it up, then you're ending up looking through MyFitnessPal and going, let's see, can I get that? Nope. Can I get this? Nope. Can I get this? Nope. Well, what if I combine these two items? Well, close, but then I'm still a little bit over, and it gets difficult. So for myself, I definitely felt like, hey, if something could just show me how to combine those to hit macros, and that would be great. But for other people, actually, once I lost a lot of weight, because I had a lot of extra weight at one time. Once I had lost a lot of that, I kind of became a big advocate for eating better. I kind of probably was annoying some people with my, hey, that's not really very healthy, don't you?
I think we've all been there.
We're all those annoying guys who are in there, right?
Well, because you discover something new and you're like, new shiny toy, everyone look at the new toy, and everyone's like, shut up about
and you see, toy. Like, nobody goes to McDonald's and orders the salad because it's their favorite. Like you instinctively know that when they ordered that salad, they thought they were eating healthy, and so you want to go, by the way, like if I see you order a Big Mac, I know you don't care, so I'm not going to say anything.
Right.
When you order the salad, I'm thinking maybe you needed a little knowledge dropped on you. So I kind of became maybe that slightly annoying guy who would drop that knowledge. But some people actually were very happy to hear it. There's some people were wanting to know more, or at least they were wanting to eat better. So the simple response I got actually surprisingly often was, fine, Jason, just tell me what to eat. So I'd be like, well, why don't you get this? Why don't you get this? Like, I don't know exactly what you've eaten the rest of the day, but nonetheless, these overall are things that are going to be sating and good, or, hey, this can be saved for a snack. And so you can eat as much as you want and then finish the rest in a couple hours and you won't be hitting the snack machine, kind of just general general advice like that. And eventually I realized, as I kept getting this question, hey, Jason, just tell me what to eat. Hey, Jason, just tell me what to eat. Well, I'm in the software trade. That's my trade. That's my my living is to create software. So eventually, I just kind of realized there's no reason software can't do this. It's all based on numbers. It's all just math. So why don't we have software that's doing the math for us and saying, here's some options. So I set to work to try to figure out how to do that.
Now, how long did it take you? Did you sit down with like the whole McDonald's, like nutrition facts, Subway, Taco Bell, KFC, and like manually put them in? Or were you able to go to the websites and like export a file?
Yeah, it's a mix of both. It was a mix of both for sure. So for those ones, no, we were able to find more regulated sources to do it that we could import. So there is actually a source that does it. There's a New York State government agency that sponsored having a whole lot of that stuff put into a regularized format that you can just and do an Excel document. So a lot of those restaurants are available that way. A lot of them are not. So a lot of the other ones, we've used things like Mechanical Turk. I don't know if you're familiar with that. But basically, you pay random people on the internet a ridiculously low wage to do some small item. So I don't know why these people are working for the ridiculously small wage, but it's nice that they do. So we have people either doing data entry or data review for us, and just manual entry ourselves as well. So it's just a huge combination of ways to get that data. But eventually we got quite a lot of it.
So where, besides people asking you constantly all the time, then just tell me what to eat. Tell me what to eat. How long did you have this idea swimming in your head? And like when or where did your brain finally like just smack you with a 2x4 of like, holy crap, okay, fine. No, I'm going to do this now.
Yeah. I guess honestly, the answer is probably not that long, probably only a few months, because I've kind of wanted to do the right business, the right entrepreneurial venture for a very long time. So I'm in my late 30s, and I've been working corporate software jobs for many years. And I always kind of knew that I wanted to find something that I was so passionate about that I would just run with it myself, that I would take my savings and just freaking run with it. And I hadn't done that, and I hadn't done that, and it's like, there's some good ideas. They're not bad. They're not, hey, maybe that's not bad. But when this idea fully formulated in my head, when I just one day responded to someone, actually, I could do that. I could build an app to do that. Like, man, I really could. And it was just a few months. It was a couple weekends of researching what kind of data was available. Was there, what kind of competition existed? Doing a little bit of proof of concept and going, you know what, this is going to happen. This is just going to happen. I'm going to do this. So I did the dumbest thing anyone can ever do, and I just said, you know what, I'm just going to quit my job and just go do this. So so I did that, and I started working full time pretty much right off the bat to start to figure out, what the best approach was. And I had a lot of false starts, whipped up a little prototype, show it to family and friends, have them kind of hold their nose because it didn't smell so good, and rip things apart, try again. Went through several iterations of that. And then once we got the database big, went through several iterations of it being just too big for our software systems to handle, and just crashing all the time. So it took a while, but but we're here. we made it to the finish line eventually.
Well,
We made it to this point right here.
To be honest, I think that's all we're doing, whether you're starting a business or working out or trying to eat better. You make it to a point and you just keep going.
Yep.
There really is no end point.
Absolutely. Yeah. There's always you always have like some goal in mind, but it's not the end goal. Like when I was losing weight, like 32 inches was a magic number for me.
Yeah.
So I knew that wasn't going to be the stopping point, but when I got, it was kind of like my first paying customer with Fudist. It was like, okay, but I know I'm not done, but I've got to this magic point, this point that just makes me feel like I won.
That's true. That is true. We give ourselves those magic points, and then you kind of get there, and you're like, "Well, what now?
What now? Yeah, I need to know now. What's the next goal? What's the next goal?" Okay.
So I've messed around with it, and I've looked at some of the things that it can do. Now, if you haven't had any experience, I hope listeners, you go out and download Fudist and check it out. But it gives you recommendations. So let's say I've got 35 grams.
I'm going to interrupt you right there because you just told people to download it and check it out. We don't right now. You can go and you can register for a free trial. But soon we'll actually have a light version out as well. So I just want you to know that, where you can use it, not just a trial, but you'll be able to, once that happens, you'll be able to use it forever as a light version with less results. And then you can, if you want to subscribe, then you can get the full results up. But so soon there'll be options for either trial or a light version if you don't want to shell out your hard-earned dollars until you've thoroughly examined it.
I got you. Well, what I'm trying to ask is, so you put your macros in, and you actually, by the way, listeners, you can split rest day and work day, like workout day macros, if you follow a sort of carb cycling program, which you can't do on MyFitnessPal. Like, it sucks. That's the only thing that when I was doing it, I was like, damn it, I have to remember, like, today is a rest day and I can't eat all the tasty carbs.
Yeah, I was doing the same thing. I actually, on MyFitnessPal, I left it inaccurate for both days intentionally so that I didn't train myself to look at MyFitnessPal's totals. Yeah. Because when I had it like good for training day but bad for a rest day, or vice versa, I would start looking for that green number that said, "Yep, you are in the right zone," and then mess it up on the other day. Once I just made it so that MyFitnessPal's goals were completely inaccurate, I stopped training myself to look for them. It was just, they're always red. It's fine.
So you put your macros in, and you've eaten one meal, and you're going out, or you're on the road traveling, and you've got to get a meal in, but you got to get fast food. So explain to the listeners real quick how this works. So let's say I've got 30 grams of fat left for a meal. I've got 50 grams of carbs, and let's say I had a pretty good protein at lunch, and I've got maybe 40 grams of protein left. So the app, I have experience, but explain to listeners how the app works and what does it recommend? Like, does it say eat a Big Mac, or does it, like, how does it work? How does it?
Sure. Yeah. So a couple different ways, right? So if we go with exactly the way you just laid out, then let's say you haven't been plugging in your data the whole time. You don't have it tied into MyFitnessPal, which you can do, by the way. So you're but you know what macros you have left. So you're just going to pull it up. You're going to say, hey, 70. I can't remember exactly what you said, but 70 carbs, 20 fat. There's little sliders on the screen. You'll just set those the way you want. We actually do ranges, so you don't have to be overly specific. If you don't mind going under, or you don't mind maybe going over by 5 grams, then you can set ranges so you can get a little bit more selection if you want. So you're going to set those range sliders on fat, carbohydrates, protein. You can set it use calories and percentages instead of grams if you prefer. And then you're simply going to hit find, and it's going to use the GPS and show you a bunch of restaurants that have meals that will hit those macros. And so, unless you're way out in BFE, you're going to find dozens and dozens of restaurants. So you mentioned Taco Bell earlier, so or you actually asked about the Big Mac just now. Let's even use that. So you click on McDonald's, you click meals, and the first thing you'll see is our Netflix-like list of recommendations. So just like Netflix has a huge movie library, but they kind of bubble to the very front, the things that it thinks you'll find interesting. That's what we do with these recommendations. So we're gonna bubble to the front a list of recommendations that we think are most likely to be interesting to you. So yeah, by the way, you asked, will it recommend a Big Mac? It absolutely might. It absolutely might recommend a Big Mac and 2 chicken sandwiches if that's going to fit your macros. And that's kind of the fun part too. Sometimes we get stuck on bro food, right?
Chicken and rice and broccoli.
Right, especially when you're traveling, especially when you're going out, you're like, okay, I have to go to Chipotle and Subway, and I can get the things with no bread and no wraps, and that's it, right? And
Chipotle.
But that's the fun part is you start to learn like a bit of the options that are out there, and maybe not necessarily a lot of experienced IIFYMers are going to learn new things, but it'll help you not think about it, and not have to worry about it yourself. And boy, when you show it to someone who isn't an experienced macro counter, and you say, "Here you go, all the things that this shows you are healthier options." It blows their mind. They're like, really? That's a healthy option. You're kidding me. I can have a Big Mac. And the answer is yes. Yes, you can. As long as you have a chicken sandwich, a grilled chicken sandwich with that Big Mac instead of fries, then yes, actually a little bit of fat ain't going to hurt you. The carbs in the bread ain't going to hurt you. It's got a whole lot of salt, but we'll not worry too much about that since the research data is not real clear on what that means to us. So,
sure. And if you're lifting weights heavily, salt actually is really necessary.
Not a bad thing. That's right. Right. Fill up them muscles with water.
Well, that and you need it to contract your muscles. You don't want to be going for a bicep curl and all of a sudden you're like, I don't have any sodium. But you also need sodium because sodium, magnesium, and potassium are, gotta have those in balance. One's out.
Well, yeah, if we're gonna go off on that tangent, yeah, for sure. Like everybody needs more potassium too. If you really want to make your sodium work for you, then all of us just need a lot more potassium in our diets.
Oh yeah, just
potatoes,
and bananas.
You know what's funny? A good russet potato has like 8 times the potassium. I'm making up that number right now, but it's ridiculously more. Like a russet potato has insanely more potassium.
Well, that's the thing. I love russet potatoes, but I love sweet potatoes more than anything.
A lot less potassium in a sweet potato.
No, I know, but there's a lot more beta carotene, and
that is true.
It keeps my ginger.
Mix them up.
Keeps my ginger hair gingery.
The dye in the sweet potato actually works.
That's right. That's right. The orange sweet potato keeps me a ginger. I have no soul, but it keeps me a ginger.
That's all right.
Cool. So now this works obviously we've already mentioned like McDonald's and Taco Bell and Subway and other big chains. And you said you've got a few smaller ones, probably in markets like New York or in larger cities, but you're working on, more mom and pop shops, but you said it's going to be a sort of a workaround. So how do you, because that's it, like, dude, if I'm going to go to Kansas City, like we were in Kansas City, I want to eat, excuse me,
barbecue.
I want to eat good barbecue. If I'm going home to North Carolina, there is a Mexican restaurant I have to go to because it has the best cheese dip. And yes, I mean it. The best cheese dip in the world. My wife and I have tried cheese dip in every city we've been to in the States, and none of it compares to this place.
I'm just going to say I'm glad you didn't mention the barbecue in North Carolina because I'm going to alienate some people here right now. But North Carolina barbecue does not stand up to either the Kansas City or the Texas Q. I just alienated Robbie.
See, I can't, like, that's the thing. It's like,
It's a holy war when you get to talking Q. It's a holy war.
It really is. It really is. No, I had with the Kansas City part. It was good. I got to give them that. It was good. Kentucky is probably behind Kansas City and North Carolina and Texas.
But yeah, to get back to your question though, So what we're actually in testing on right now is using a common foods system. I'm not real practiced on how to deliver the pitch for how this works. So let me just funnel my way through it to you, because this is new. This is still in testing, right? But let's take like an Italian. Well, actually, why am I taking an Italian restaurant? Let's take barbecue for instance. There's common foods at a barbecue restaurant. So when we look up on our database and see that hey, there's 10 barbecue restaurants around you. Typically what we're doing is going, are any of those the chains that we support? And if they're not, we actually filter those out. But what we can do instead, and what we're working on in our testing environments right now, is saying, oh, you have these 10 barbecue restaurants around you. So do I have foods that are common across all barbecue restaurants? And the simple answer is, of course I do. All barbecue restaurants have pulled pork. All barbecue restaurants have brisket. All barbecue restaurants have burn tips. Or they're not a very good barbecue restaurant if they don't have tips. Right. So, but there's certain foods that are simply universal, that are common across genres of restaurants. And while for sure the macros can vary across them, we already put up with that if we're going to those places anyway. When we go into my Fitness Pal, it doesn't have Bob's Roadside Barbecue Diner. We estimate when we go into my Fitness Pal. We estimate when we go into my macros. So we're already familiar with estimating. Why not? Again, it just comes back to why not have Fudist do the work for you that you're already doing with a calorie diary. So we'll estimate for you. We'll say you're going to a generic barbecue restaurant. All right, here's a generic recommendation. 3 ounces of pulled pork and 2 ounces of beef brisket will hit your macros, right? Probably need something with carbs in there somewhere unless you're on a low carb diet, but white bread if it's Texas barbecue.
Cornbread or some hush puppies.
There you go. I actually prefer the cornbread myself.
So
we'll just say, cornbread, that's a common item, so it's going to be in there, right? Cornbread, beef brisket, and pulled pork. We're going to be able to recommend those to you, and you're going to be able to get those at any barbecue restaurant you go into anywhere. And now you no longer have to worry about the fact that, Fudist only supports chain restaurants. So that's coming very soon. We have that in testing right now.
Cool. And I think that's an important thing a lot of people don't. And I have to admit, I am very on point with everything I eat. And it does annoy the wife at times. But I have my reasonings behind it. But I think people kind of forget that, a lot of the food that we eat, even at mom and pop shops, are probably very similar. Most of them are coming from the same food suppliers. Like if you look in the same town, like those 10 barbecue restaurants,
exactly.
There's probably 2, maybe 3, unless they specifically just do like grass-fed local stuff. There's maybe 2 or 3 different distributors they get their meat from. And
I'm in the Metro Detroit area, and when it comes to any restaurant that goes above maybe a 3-star level, they are all getting it from the one meat packing plant.
Yeah.
And that's this is a big area. They all get it from one source. So yeah, there's a lot of similarity.
And if the first 2 meals or first meal, if you fast in the mornings, are on point, a little over isn't going to hurt you one day. It's building consistency is the key to weight loss. It's the key to fat loss. It's the key to building muscle. Staying consistent. You're going to have those little bumps, and it's going to happen. You come home and you're like, you know what? Really want to have a beer tonight. Fine, you had a beer, whatever. Or you maybe have one little extra scoop of the mashed potatoes. I'm not saying do it every night, but if you're consistent, those little slip ups aren't going to hurt. So when you're on the road, trying to find the best food,
Yeah, and I mean that's one of the real things we think of, like with Fudist. We actually developed Fudist with not we started. I started the concept, and I say we now because I do have other people on the team now. But when I started with the concept, I hadn't actually heard of flexible dieting yet. So I started just going, hey, you know what? We base it off of I am using MyFitnessPal. I am using using the label that's on and let's face it, USDA recommendations, while their actual macro ratios are bad, USDA recommendations are macros. They're
right.
USDA is counting macros.
Well, right? And that's the thing is, like, you and I talked about this a little over email. There is some science that has been done, but on like what is the appropriate thing, the appropriate amounts to eat. It's hard because protein is expensive. That's why all this food at fast food restaurants is so cheap, because it's full of fats and carbs, because they're so cheap to manufacture.
For sure. Yeah. And I let me the point I was going to get to real quick before it slides out of my brain here, though, is even if you're not doing something like flexible dieting or IFYM, when you're on the road, or if you decide you just you only have 10 minutes for lunch, you might not necessarily have a strict plan or know exactly what you want to do macronutrient wise to eat, quote unquote, eat healthy. But you do know you don't want to make, hey, this meal a blowout meal. You don't want to just eat terribly, nor do you want to starve. So even if you don't have in your mind specific goals in mind, if you can just pull out a tool that says, give me something that's vaguely healthy. Don't just vaguely healthy is right for me and my height, weight, blah, blah, blah. And I can page through some options and pick one I like. Then Fudist can do that for you, right? I mean, it doesn't necessarily have to be because I count macros. It can be, give me something that's right for my height and weight for lunch, and I'll worry about the other meals another time. And it can help set up habits that way. You start to understand the types of things, choices that you can make. Hey, I can have a burger. I can, as long as I have it with a grilled chicken salad. And then maybe you do the same thing for dinner, even if you didn't have Fudist recommended. It can start for people who aren't already counting, for people who aren't already used to dealing with this stuff. It can really start to set those habits up. At least I hope. I mean, we've definitely seen it work with a few people so far. So I hope we see that with more and more people.
Quick question that just popped in my head. So it uses GPS. So let's say you're actually driving down the road and do a little experiment, and email subscribers will get this email on this. And if you subscribe to my email after you hear the show, please reach out and I'll send you the video. How far of a reach does the GPS have? Like, if I'm, say, in a town and there's like 4 exits full of food, like, is it gonna pick what's within like 3 miles?
Yeah, it's roughly 3 miles. It uses a box rather than a circle, so it's not if you go northeast, it's a little farther than it is directly north, because it actually draws a box around you rather than a circle around you. Just for annoying technical reasons, it's just it works out better that way. But yeah, it's roughly like 2.5, 3 miles. But we do let you. GPS is the default. So if you prefer to say, hey, I know where I'm going to be in. I'm going to be in Knoxville, Tennessee, in 2 hours, and that's when I want to eat. So let me plan ahead. You can just type Knoxville, Tennessee into it, and it'll look for a restaurant in Knoxville, Tennessee instead. So GPS is just the default.
Well, that's even better, because if you know, like, you can kind of plan ahead and then pick where you want to go. Awesome, this app just keeps getting better. You keep blowing my mind. Yeah, I'm digging it.
Awesome. No, I love that kind of feedback. honestly, a constructive criticism is the best kind of feedback, because you can build off of it. But it's nice to hear good feedback too.
That's true as a coach. It's true in the gym most of the time. It's good to see those results and not just feel the muscle soreness. So let's have a few fun questions.
All right.
Here. What app have you used recently that you just can't stop using?
Oh my goodness! I'm gonna pull up my phone to like flip through here to actually answer that question. I have to, as an app developer, I'm probably evil for saying I'm not a huge app guy because I don't play phone games or anything like that, and I know that's a common one. So honestly, lately,
is there an app besides MyFitnessPal or besides Fudist that you use all the time?
You know what ends up being lately? It's Facebook because all of the people that I met at the fitness summit are all like very talkative on Facebook and hilarious people. So all you guys are on there, and I hadn't used Facebook a lot before, but all you guys are on there and really hilarious and very engaged on Facebook. So I've actually been using it quite a bit lately. You got brilliant people like Greg Nuckols and Jordan Syatt posting actual intelligent stuff on Facebook, which is kind of weird, seeing intelligent things on Facebook.
True. True.
Yeah, I've actually been on there a lot lately.
Okay.
Not a great answer, sorry.
No, I mean, it's interesting to know that as an app developer, you're like, I don't really play with, I come up with ideas and create the ideas, but I don't really play with them.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of it, of course, is social, and a lot of it is games, and those are two. So obviously, Fudist is neither one of those. So those are two things that I don't find terribly compelling usually.
Okay, so you mentioned your age, which means you grew up in the '80s. So I got to ask,
it's true.
Favorite '80s action movie hero?
Oh man. So I'm going to say this. So obviously Arnold, as far as actor goes, just he's Arnold. He wins. Period. End of story. But if we're talking characters, it's actually probably not an Arnold character because just the way Rambo was done was just so badass. So Rambo was so awesome.
It's funny now that so Mad Max was released this weekend. I'm assuming it's going to do well, minus whatever crap a bunch of wannabe dudes. I don't even know. I don't know.
I don't know about that whole thing at all.
I think it's just the publicity stuff.
Wait, speaking of weird '80s stuff, so I don't know if you are you even familiar with like what this gem thing is that it just broke like this. It was like a girls' action cartoon, and it was actually
my wife
watched it.
Yeah, my wife watched it like on Netflix one day. I was like, "Good God, what is this crap?"
For like an '80s action cartoon, it was actually pretty good, but it was aimed at girls, which is like pretty progressive for back in the '80s, right?
Right.
And it was good, but they've like completely gutted it and turned it into like the Britney Spears movie with their movie adaptation. So speaking of '80s action stuff, that's pretty ridiculous.
Yeah, I didn't watch Gem. I mean, I grew up Transformers, Power Rangers, Wolverine, X-Men. I go back and watch those on Netflix, and good God, is the writing awful.
Yeah.
For a while, we were watching like old like TGIF stuff. Holy crap.
Oh my God.
I did not realize how
Family Matters type things.
No, luckily, I did not watch an episode of that. I watched a couple episodes of Boy Meets World, and I was like,
I don't think I've ever seen that one. I was too old for that one again to date myself.
God, dude, it felt like it was written by like 12-year-olds in English.
Well, so Boy Meets World was like Fred Savage's, but I'm Fred Savage's age, so that or maybe like a couple years younger. I'm not sure, but
it was like 90. It was mid 90s. It was during the Family Matters Full House kind of thing. But yeah. So, anyways, all right. So 80s. Gotta ask, did you drive a Trans Am and rock a mullet? Were you rocking out?
I'm not that old. I'm not that old. I was not 16 yet in the 80s. I'm young enough that I can say no to that. I did have a cousin that had the Trans Am with the Firebird on the
on the hood.
That was pretty badass.
That's just for some reason I always think of like glam rock and Trans Ams and mullets when I think of the 80s.
The 80s was an interesting time for pop culture.
Looking back, isn't every decade though? Like it.
I found the '90s to be a little boring, but
well, so I love the '90s. I'm a huge '90s nerd because that's like even though like my high school and like college life were like the millennium, the '90s influenced so much of my life. It's weird when you look back because like I feel like you had grunge and Cobain, and then Cobain dies, and then everyone was like, where did our identity go? Boy bands. but seriously, like you had a lot of one-hit wonders. You had a crap ton of boy bands in the mid to late '90s, and like you had alternative pop up. Then you have like emo kind of get on the scene, and nuo punk with like.
Right.
It just
a little boring.
Well, maybe for you, I slightly enjoyed it. Actually, no, you did have the rise of hip hop. Hip hop probably would be the defining genre.
I'm calling that the '80s, though. I'm calling that the '80s.
Well, maybe. I mean, I guess if you think rap, like
I mean, so I do definitely blur the two lines between rap and hip hop. But I mean, like LL Cool J in the '80s, and
yeah, you're right. Rob Bass, DJ Easy Rock.
Okay. You mentioned like Wolverine and stuff. I have to say this though, because I've been watching these recently. So the DC animated universe movies, they blow away any cartoon that any Marvel-based thing has ever done. Have you been watching? I'm not caught up on them yet, so I still have like 3 or 4 left. But the DC universe animated movies are amazing.
Yeah, it's weird. DC does a really good job with their animated. Oddly enough, about shortly after the Civil War was published, DC somehow like woke up and went, "Oh, we should probably start writing better stories." And their comics, like for a couple of years,
got like all the Frank Miller stuff, right? They had like a little bit of it going okay, but they did. Yeah. I hear what you're saying though. It wasn't core rather than just like the Frank Miller books.
Right. Well, and the hard thing with like DC and Marvel is that like almost all of the DC characters except for Batman are gods. Like Superman can't really die unless a random rock that doesn't exist on Earth takes his power away. And Wonder Woman is sort of a goddess already. And the Green Lantern just like went to the store one day and got a ring pop and magically like...
Yeah, he's pretty much invulnerable except Superman can beat him up, but...
Right. But then like all of them are sort of invulnerable except for Batman. And we're all like, well, Batman, we all like Batman because he's kind of easy to connect to. Which is why I think when I ask so many of my listeners, if you could be a superhero, so many people are like, oh, Batman. So if you could be any superhero, Jason... Who would you be and why?
So right. I actually sort of prepared for this question or tried to prepare for this question because I listened to the previous podcast, and I have to tell you, it's like it's not a great answer because the truth is in any universe where there is a Superman, I want to be Superman because otherwise you're the Green Lantern with Superman around. Who wants to be that? Well, maybe Shazam, I guess, but I'll be Shazam. I don't want to turn into a 12-year-old boy though, so not that either. No, but yeah, in any universe where Superman exists, I guess I want to be Superman. But my favorite comic book hero growing up, just because of his smart-ass nature, was Spider-Man. And maybe it would have been Deadpool had I been in on Deadpool when I was growing up, but he flew under my radar. But Deadpool's pretty awesome with his smart-ass nature too, and his gray area ethics are rather amusing. But I'm going to go with Spider-Man as long as it's a universe where Superman does not exist, because Spider-Man's awesome.
I will give you that. I enjoy Deadpool. He's very interesting just because he breaks the fourth wall, and you're like, what?
I love
what?
Too, yeah.
Yeah, that's always enjoyable. But yeah, Spider-Man. I think Spider-Man was the first, of course, that I was introduced to, and then I really just went hardcore at Captain America. I like even watching the
Captain America fan.
Yeah, even watching the Avengers, I was like, I gotta lift more. This motherfucker! Look at this dude. Like, damn.
I never was a huge Captain America fan, but Hulk was awesome. So speaking of gotta lift more, love the Hulk. Just I I don't know. It's hard to even like explain like the Hulk. You have like it's raw. It's like raw humanity. It's like just tear down all drama. There's like with Hulk, there is no dramatic, interpersonal storylines. There's Hulk angry, other people have feels, but Hulk mad.
That's every storyline ever. It's like, oh look, here's the problem. Oh, oops, Bruce Banner got a splinter, and he just destroyed San Francisco.
Right.
And then he wakes up in like the rubble of like San Francisco, and he's like, "Oh, this splinter. Oops, I just pulled it out. Like, what did I do?"
Right, which is kind of awesome. I'm gonna because you brought it up, I'm gonna rail for just half a second here on Green Lantern too, because I hate all the Green Lantern storylines for the most part, because basically, as you said, he's a god, and yet they seem to forget that for long stretches at a time, where he does incredibly stupid things and doesn't use his full power, and then kind of towards the end of the storyline, he'll go, "Oh yeah, I can just do something simple." So a lot of the Green Lantern storylines seem like that, where hey, he's got all this amazing power. Why isn't he using it at the beginning of the book? Why isn't he using it at the beginning of the story? And I think they actually do a better job in the modern era with Superman on that. They actually work really hard to provide, to find things that are actually challenging for him. Whereas I feel like they don't do that with the Green Lantern much.
Isn't that like with the Green Lantern, what you just said with his storylines, isn't it sort of kind of how a lot of people like approach like dieting and like tracking? You're like, oh my God, I have all this stuff I have to do. And really it's just simple. And we make it so complicated when we go out, but
you get overwhelmed. Yeah, you get overwhelmed. You try looking at too many factors, and you don't kind of find that magical keystone and just pull it out. Yeah.
How has Fudist? How have you worked? Because you and I have chatted in Kansas City, and we've been corresponding via email. But how did you kind of put that simplicity into Fudist so that people don't have to overthink?
Well, of course, it does the recommendations for you, but that's like a recent development. It's almost crazy to tell you, in terms of the development of the project, how long we've been at it. Actually, a couple of years. That recommendation is that concept is only a few months old, and so every bit of this just comes about as evolution. It comes about as building something and then using it ourselves, because. School. I did count macros, and I did do some of that, even though when I wasn't familiar with the actual name of flexible dieting. I was counting macros even before that, and I didn't call them macros at the time, but I did now. Whereas the co-founder that I brought on, he actually is a very healthy guy. He's like a soccer player, and he's like he does all this stuff, but he was super lean, and we just started feeding him with Fudist. I mean, just literally, because he actually eats out a lot. So he's eating out, two meals a day or whatever, often anyway. And so we started, he started eating with Fudist recommendations, and he's put on a lot of muscle just by the nature of his daily activities. He rock climbs, he plays soccer all the time, but he wasn't getting enough protein in his diet. And so he wasn't. So and so we just, he's using it, I'm using it. We just keep iterating. We just keep finding what could make it better for us. We keep showing it to people and having people use it and seeing what their usage patterns are, and new ideas come about. And the recommendations one was not on the list. Was not in the plan until just a few months ago. And so people were required to take the app and then page through. First items go, oh, I think I would want a chicken sandwich. And then from there go, okay, with a chicken sandwich, you compare it with these other 15, 20, 100 things. It turns out there's a lot of combinations possible. Right. So even though it's nice to have choice, it can be overwhelming. And so we just keep iterating and just keep working through what would make it better for us. And then, show it to people and you see, some things people go, oh, thank God you added this. And other things people go, I don't care. So you just keep trying. You just keep trying new things. It is the same as going to the gym, right? I mean, you can't just on one hand have an idea and go and do it at the gym one day and then go, no, it doesn't work. Can't do it for a week. No, you have to develop. So much like that, we have to develop the feature fully. We have to go through it. We have to actually give it give it enough of a viability, get it out there to people. But if it doesn't work, you change it up. And that's the same thing that, you know, you do when you're working out. You give something enough effort to check it out. You know, you give it your 4 weeks or whatever to check it out, to try it. If it doesn't work, you move on. If it works, you double down on it. that's how we develop the product.
Cool. Well, just so listeners know, I did not script that. I totally just saw an opportunity to make a really cool segue. I realized as I was doing it, I was like, somebody's going to be like, this was scripted. No, this show is never scripted. I just know how to segue by now because this is like episode 45. So.
I like Mark Shields posted something from onto Facebook, an interview with Neil deGrasse Tyson.
Yeah.
And I said that was definitely a prepped interview right there because it would just seem like the ball was put on a tee for Neil deGrasse Tyson to just hit it out of the park. And I said, I'm pretty sure that was a scripted question, but maybe that was just like this one. It was just a lucky happenstance. It was
a lucky swing, and it worked. So I want to wrap up the show because we nerded out for a little while, and then we talked about the app. I've been using it when I eat out, and we don't eat out a lot here in Richmond, but we do occasionally. And I've been using it just for fun at lunch to look at recommendations for like what it will give me. And I really love this tool, and I highly suggest it, to use it. So if listeners are listening, go, you know what, I actually travel a lot for business, or I end up eating out quite a bit. You know, I have a busy job and don't always get, to cook my foods, or some days, you know what, I don't want to put a salad together and put it in Tupperware. I just want to go to McDonald's. Where can they find out about Fudist, and where can they download it? So the website is Fudi.st. So it's kind of a weird URL, but it looks well when printed. It's hard to say on a podcast, but yeah. So it's Fudist, Fudi.st. Fudist spelled like nudist. There's no .com in there. And then you can get it on the App Store by just searching Fudist, or the Play Store, same thing. You can search Fudist spelled like nudist. And you will need to sign up right now as it stands right now, for an account at the website, even once you've downloaded the app. But like I said, we're working on changing that so that you'll just be able to use the late version when you download the app, and then decide later when you want to sign up. Cool. And what is the? So you said it's subscription based. So what is it? Monthly, yearly?
You can go either way. Yeah, it's $10 a month, or if you want to go for the yearly option, then it's $60 a year. So that basically cuts it down to $5 a month. So less than going out one time in that case. And we're not sure on the time frame on this, but we are also going to offer a daily option. So you can be on the lookout for that, and the daily option will allow you to just say, hey, I'm traveling today. Maybe you're not someone who travels a lot, but today you're traveling, so you don't want to get a yearly or a monthly subscription. You just want to unlock it for one day. And so that's not available yet, but when that is, it'll be 99 cents to unlock it for a 24-hour period of time, which could even be enough for 2 lunches. So if you eat at 1 p.m. one day and 12 p.m. the next, and you can get 2 lunches out of it. But that'll be 99 cents for a 24-hour subscription. Cool. Well, guys, I will have a link in the show notes on the website. So head over to www.sidequestfitness.com/podcast and just scroll down the page and look for the show notes here that I've had with Jason. I'll have a link there for you to get to Fudist so that you can check it out. You can browse the website or download straight to your phone as well. I'll put it up in social as well. It's a great tool. I have to be honest. I've been using it, like I said, the few times we do kind of go out to eat. But I use it when I'm not, eating out and just sitting at home, because it also does another thing that I have found. It allows me to see a certain range that I'm usually in within dinner time, because my lunches are always the same. I got chicken, I got salad, I got some blue cheese, I'm good to go. So my dinner macros are usually the same. So if you know what your macros typically are, then you can kind of look through and be like, oh,
man, I've got like 5 or 6 different things I could eat at this fast food restaurant, as opposed to always going to Wendy's and always having to get the same boring chicken sandwich and, sweet or baked potato. Like, I now know what I can choose from, which is great for me because I get really bored with the same stuff.
We all do. Yeah. I don't know how the brains do it.
Well, plus I gotta say, when it comes to Taco Bell, I already want to eat the whole menu. So it's nice to know there's like 12 different things that I can choose from to fit in to my macros. Man, Taco Bell. Damn you, Adam Fisher. Damn you. Taco Bell doesn't work so well when you're cutting, but man, is it great when you're bulking.
No, I'm actually trying to I'm gonna experiment with my own knowledge here. I'm gonna do a kind of a quick cut for the next 4 weeks and see how much I can lose on a more aggressive cut than I've ever done before.
Aggressive 4 weeks, 4 to 5 weeks is what I would say for an aggressive cut. Only because after this cut that I did, link to my article will be in the show notes. I prefer sneaking up on it, and like slowly decreasing, because your body doesn't even really know you're dieting.
You've got a long way to go. You're right. It's the only way to do it. If you've got a long way to go. I have a very obsessive personality though. And what I found is if I can just lock in on and so that's just a thing that people need to, you hear people say, oh, you have to go slow, or, oh, you do this, it's very personal. And so for some people who are very type A, you track everything. You want to make sure that you're within 100 calories of you're at a 100 to 300 calorie deficit, and you'll be good. And other people just, as long as I can sink my teeth into it and just tear it apart and focus on this one thing, because I'm an obsessive person, it actually makes me, I'll on a daily basis just feel better about it. Like, yeah, I tore into it. But you can only do it for a short period of time. So that's why I'm just staying with 4 weeks, see what I can do in 4 weeks. Just, it's kind of like just an experiment. I've been for the last several years educating myself about nutrition. I've taken physiology courses and nutrition courses, and now I'm saying, all right, what can I do with this? What can I do with this knowledge on myself? I'm it's going to be an experiment where the N equals 1, but it's going to be fun. and maybe finally put the 6-pack on. So we finally get that 6-pack showing through.
It is it's an achievement, and I will say it is. I have enjoyed getting there, but now I'm focused on getting stronger and trying to retain the leanness. But it does sometimes, man. I'm not gonna lie. When you get used to eating 3,000 calories, you're like, but nachos! I can have all the nachos. I don't want to.
Yeah, I know.
Don't have your wife call you fluffy, puffy, or any of the words rhyming with uffy. Yeah, not good. Not good. Jason,
sometimes when I'm short of calories, I get a little huffy, but.
Well, I guess I'm not even going to go anywhere. I wanted to make a Buffy reference, but I don't need us to have another nerd out for 10 minutes. So I have had a great time. Guys, please head over to the App Store, head over to Google Play, or head over to the website and sign up and check it out as well. Fudist, spelled like nudist, FUDI.st is where you can find it online. Jason, I've had a great time chatting with you and letting everyone know about this great app. If you're on the road, or you eat out a lot, or you really want to fully live the experience of flexible dieting, if you will, then please download this app and check it out. It really is a great tool that can help you, whether you're trying to build muscle or cut fat. It really is a great tool to put in to your tool belt, because as I've said before, I believe that life is very much like an RPG. It is we are on quests all the time, and every tool we can get to aid in on our lifelong quest of being awesome, I think is awesome to add into our giant tool chest. So this is another tool you can put in It adds a +1 to dexterity for your diet. It adds a +2 for strength of resolve when you're on the road. And it doesn't really take away anything except for maybe a couple of rupees a year. I just referenced a lot of stuff. And if any of you totally get it, leave comments on the website because it'd be awesome. Just say it. Yes, I gotta end it there. Jason, thank you so much. Thank you so much for coming on.
Thank you, Robbie. I've had a great time, man.